Alright, so the Euphoria Season 3 Episode 8 season finale has now premiered on HBO Max, and we are here to break it down, to review it, to discuss it, and this is going to be the last time we probably ever talk Euphoria on the channel, considering this is also the series finale in general. And man, you know, it's been a long time coming. I've watched this show for many years now, all the way back since season 1, watched it all the way through, got to connect with all of these characters and their journeys and their stories and everything that they were going through, right? It felt relatable in a way to the generation and the demographic of the time, and just aging with these characters, watching these characters age inside of this series all the way up into what we got to see inside of this final season. And it's just sort of bittersweet, you know, but let's go ahead and discuss it. Let's talk about it. I don't want to really break down point by point like we've done for all the past episodes. I kind of just want to give an over general view of the episode, but let's go ahead and begin with the episode title. And the title of this episode is, of course, In God We Trust. And the reason that this is important is because it kind of sums up what the whole point of this season was, which is Rue coming to God. That's sort of been her whole transition period here from season 1, where she's kind of this lost drug addict, right? Can't really find her way in the world, to all the way to season 3, where she's supposed to be getting closer to God, getting out of all of this vile stuff that she surrounded herself with. And we've seen her almost in deal with the devil, you could say, with Alamo Brown here. So I was very surprised with what they did with this season, where they took our characters, and I do feel like we got a sense of finality here with this final episode, which was very important. Now we have to talk about the beginning of the episode, how Rue escapes Laurie's house, right? Her compound, right? We left off on a cliffhanger with her being in the basement. Faye screams, then it cuts to black. So we open in this episode with the exact same scene, right? Her screaming. Rue goes and grabs a tool, hits it over the supremacist's knee, right? Breaks his leg pretty much, takes off running into their tunnel systems, into their secret escape entrance. She's getting chased while he has a gun the entire time. She barely manages to make it out of there by the grace of God, I suppose. And then, of course, once she gets out, Marshawn Lynch's character ends up picking her up, and they have a nice little celebratory scene there. And that's where the title screen happens, right? I thought this was a pretty good intro. We then move on to Cassie and Maddie bonding, right? They kind of have a trauma bond going over the loss of Nate Jacobs, which was a very surprising death scene. It seems like they really didn't know what to do with his character, so they kind of just had him getting tortured for all of season 3 and then getting killed off. Kind of weird, but I was surprised that they went there and killed off a main character, which we ended up seeing happen in this episode too, which is a big reason why it felt like such a finale here. But let's move on to Alamo Brown and Rue. They're having a conversation. Obviously, Alamo Brown has the awareness now that Rue is probably working with the DEA. So in their celebratory, you know, moment at the bar scene, he hands her these pills, right, which is essentially a death sentence, knowing that she struggled with addiction a lot throughout her life. That's the entire point of this character, is, you know, a person going through all of this traumatic situations with her struggle with addiction. And so when he hands her that bottle, you could just tell, all right, the deal with the devil is pretty much done. And as soon as Rue takes that pill and takes that bottle with her, we already know that, you know, it's probably the end of this character, sadly. Right? This is the character that I've sort of connected the most with throughout this series. Zendaya did such an amazing job at portraying the human nature within the character of Rue, and she really, you know, fell into the Rue role, right? Like when we watch Euphoria, you don't really see Zendaya, you see Rue. She blended in with the character so effortlessly, and it's just really sad to see her go. We'll talk about that scene in just a second, but we then move on to the Mexico trip taking place, right? This was Alamo Brown and Laurie's plan. They end up coming past the border. They make it through. They make it all the way to Laurie's house, and just when they make it there, there's this swarm of DEA agents, this swarm of helicopters coming to put a stop and an end to this. Laurie says, you know, I've had enough of this. I can't go behind bars. And I feel the same, Laurie, okay? So I can't really fault her for what we see happen next inside of this scene. So we see Laurie go up to the roof in front of all of the agents, ties a rope, and she just hangs herself, okay? She takes herself out of the equation. She was like an old lady by now, right? She's lived a long life. What more is there after getting caught by the DEA and them swarming, you know, your underground drug operation? It's pretty much over for her. So she goes ahead and sees her own way out. Like I said, I can't fault her for it. Okay, but the other people inside the house, they look like they're about to have a shootout potentially, and they end up deciding not to and just getting taken in. And that's pretty much where we see those characters end up and leave off. So we do have some finality to the Laurie situation and all of those characters too. Now moving on, we have Rue sort of celebrating escaping and making it out of this dangerous situation. She goes back to Ollie's house. She asks him like, hey, can I stay on the couch? Is that fine? He's like, yes, that's fine. Of course you can. You're always a guest here. And yeah, it seems like a happy moment at this point in time. It seems like she's gonna ride off into the sunset. Little do we know that statement is more true than we thought it was going to be. We then get a very misleading scene where she's watching the news. She sees a prisoner escaped. She gets this memory back to the phone call she had with Fez, and she's like, oh my God, he actually did it. He actually pulled it off. I have to go pick him up. I told him I was going to. So she rushes out of the house. She's speeding on the road. All of this seems very like over the top, right? It seems very fantastical, very unnatural for Euphoria, to be honest. And so we're just going through the motions here. She's flying. She goes to what is her neighborhood. It's kind of blocked off there. There's like this police block off. We see her run right past it. The cops can't stop her. She somehow manages to escape them and make it to her house. We're like, that seems very like unbelievable, right? It seems like something's just not right here. So she crawls through the window. She makes it into her house. She's walking through the home. And at this point in time, I'm like, did Bishop get there first? Because in the trailer for this episode, it looked like Bishop was going to get there. We know that he threatened Rue's family, the mother and the sister, right? We're aware of that. So I'm thinking, did Bishop take them out already? Is someone going to be waiting for her there? She keeps walking through the house, ends up seeing her mom reading the Bible. And this show does turn into like very heavy Christian propaganda, but at the same time, I'm not really against that, considering all the dark subject matter that this show has been about and what the initial core and theme of this series was, especially when it came to this season, which is redemption, right? It's about Rue and all of these other characters, but especially Rue. She is our main character, trying to get redemption for her soul through this drug addiction that she picked up from her father passing away many seasons ago. And so her finally trying to get over that moment and begin a new life here. So as she sees her mom, we see this very cinematic scene of just a hand reaching out into the darkness, right? And then that hand just slowly falling out of the darkness. And then I'm like, damn, it's over, right? Rue is dead. That's clearly what was happening in this scene. She was meeting God, pretty much seeing heaven, meeting her mother there in heaven, which was very astonishing, right? And so we move on. Right, Ollie walks out, and they did a huge misdirect, because he walks out, he sees her watching TV, and that's when this crazy scene begins. But now we pick back up with Ollie again. We watch the exact same scene take place, but we see what actually happened, which is Ollie going out to the living room, seeing her still knocked out on that couch, seeing that pill bottle there, and just knowing she's done, right? He's trying to get her attention. She's not waking up. He takes a little tester, tests it for fent, finds out that those pills were completely fentanyl, which means Alamo Brown pretty much put a hit out on Rue, pretty much killed her on purpose, obviously. And yeah, he's a demonic evil character, which again goes back to the Bible talk, especially with the burning of the Joshua tree and all of that religious symbolism, which I thought was done very well, to be completely honest with you. Now let's move on to, we see Ollie at like a rehabilitation center, right? We know that he ends up writing Rue's name in the Book of the Dead. Sad as hell, bro. I'm not gonna lie. It took me a while to do this review. It took me a while to do this breakdown, to talk about it, because it's like this is going to be the final time I ever get to talk about this show for the most part. All of the finality surrounding it. I hate my favorite shows ending. Honestly, I'm sure a lot of you guys feel that way too. But also, this was just sad as hell, right? It made me feel really sad inside watching what took place to this character whose story we've been following for 3 seasons now, right? And man, this ending was just dark as hell. It like broke a piece of me inside watching this. I'll be honest with you. Okay, now let's move on. Ollie walks out. He calls Leslie, which is Rue's mother, right, and says, hey, listen, I'm calling with some bad news. Essentially, we don't get to see that scene fully take place, but we know what he ends up having to tell her, that Rue ends up eventually passing away due to her drug addiction, of course. Now, he's at the rehab facility, at the AA meeting, whatever you'd like to call it, and he's just venting, talking about how, you know, he's tried this hard to be a good person. He's tried to help so many people. It never turns out well. It never works. He's been a Muslim. He's been a Christian. He's tried to go to all of these different religions, try to find the truth and the meaning, and by the end, he just ends up thinking all of this is pointless. And then after Rue passes, I was very surprised that that happens like midway in the episode, and there's still so much other stuff to like finish up, right? There's so much other plot lines to conclude and things like that. So very surprising that the main character dies halfway through this episode, and then we have like 30 more minutes of content. I was like, that's kind of weird. you know, especially with how heartbroken I was seeing that character pass away and die. That was very depressing, very sad. But let's talk about the finale. Let's talk about the remainder of the episode. Okay, so we see Cassie, Lexi, Maddie. I guess they're all sort of friends now, all sort of working together now. You know, Cassie wants Lexi to be a part of what she's doing, wants her to write something for her, etc., etc. Right? Cassie ends up paying off Maddie. Maddie goes and gets picked up in a car by Bishop. They seem to have some sort of weird relationship with each other. They seem to have gotten closer to each other somehow. I'm not really sure how. We never really got to see scenes of that, but they did seem a little close there, okay? She seemed to be liking Bishop in this car scene. So anyway, they get to the club, right? And once they're at the club, this was the most exciting part of this entire episode. But before that, we have to discuss Cassie and Lexi having this conversation. They have a talk about Rue, about kind of how they feel bad for Rue, kind of how they miss her. And Cassie starts saying nice things about her. Oh, she had a nice smile. She was this, she was that. You know, a smile says a lot about a person. And I thought that was a bittersweet scene. And I think the purpose for having Rue pass away and then us continuing on with the show was just to go to show how kind of final death is, but also how the world kind of keeps moving on after, right? Like after someone passes, that's not just the end of the world, the end of society as we know it. The world has to keep going, which is sad, but it's true and it's honest. Now let's talk about what happens in this final scene here with Ali dressing up in his military gear, going out to Alamo Brown's club to get revenge. This was an amazing scene. I love this revenge scene. Okay, he locks the door to the club, goes in there, sits down, has Marshawn Lynch come over to him, sits him down at the table, puts a gun to him and says, listen, I'm gonna take you out right here and now if you don't get Alamo Brown out here, because I'm not here for you, I'm here for him. And while all of this is taking place, Alamo Brown's in the back, he's with Maddie, they're talking business. Again, he's been getting very weird, very Philly touchy with her. I don't like how it's not just like kept at a business relationship there, right? He's even asking her for marriage at one point in time. This dude's just a creepy weirdo. All right, he just murdered her friend off and now he's talking about getting married to her. But whatever. All right, eventually Alamo Brown catches word that Ali is waiting for him out there. Ali is screaming his name, telling him, Alamo Brown, come out here. And we get a very Western ending here where Bishop hands him his gun. It's like this gold pistol. We know Alamo Brown loves guns, loves to shoot, very confident in his aim. We've seen that throughout this season, which, by the way, I think they did do a fantastic job with the Alamo Brown character and making a proper villain for this season. He's definitely a villain that we never got in the first two seasons. So anyway, Alamo Brown, they confront each other in this Western face-off. Everyone else just kind of stands to the side. They tell them all, do not interfere. I'll give you a fair chance to win this 1v1, right? And so they have a girl do a bottle roll. As soon as the bottle hits the floor, that's when it's time to shoot. But of course, Alamo Brown is a scumbag. He is a devil. He is a demon. So he tries to cheat this face-off. Before the bottle even hits the ground, he pulls his gun and goes for the shot there. But little do we know, Bishop, my guy Bishop, I knew there was some good in you, okay? I just knew it, even though we seen him like on some Dexter Morgan stuff, chopping up bodies earlier in the episode. So he's not a good character either, let's be honest. He is a brutal, probably serial killer himself for Alamo Brown and has done a lot of dirt in the name of Alamo Brown. But in this particular instance, he finally did right. I don't know why he stuck out his neck for Rue. Honestly, I don't know why he did this, but he did. Probably because he likes Maddie and he knows that something bad's going to happen with Maddie if she keeps staying in business with Alamo Brown. So anyway, he lifts his pistol. There's no bullets in it. He fires. He looks at Bishop like, damn, you set me up. And before we know it, Ali blows a hole in his chest with a shotgun, walks over to him, puts 2 more bullets in him. He's like, just in case, you know, let's finish the job here. And to my surprise, everyone else just lets him walk out of that place. Okay, Bishop waves the white flag to everyone else in there. They pretty much are all taking orders from him now. And Ali gets to go home after giving us this Django Unchained Western level of scene, right? This was like very Tarantino-esque, and I love the way that they shot this and portrayed it to the audience. I thought this whole scene was pretty great. We then see Ali go down to this Christian home in Mexico that Rue stayed with, right? He goes to them, he says, listen, I think she came here to stay with you guys. You guys were very good to her. She did pass away. They end up inviting him in. We get this nice scene of them having dinner together. And yeah, it's like I said, it's a bittersweet ending. That's pretty much the end of the episode right there. And man, very heavy on the heart, bro. Very emotional final episode, but then they left it off with a bang with this Tarantino-esque type of scene, so I did enjoy that part. And overall, I think this was a pretty good season of Euphoria. I don't think this series got the shake that it deserved in terms of criticism, especially from its own audience. For some reason, there was like this huge hate parade around this series, especially going into this season, where people just wanted it to be bad and just wanted to hate it by any means necessary, but also wanted to watch it and watch it fail, right? Because this was the #1 show on HBO Max for all of these weeks that these episodes have been premiering. So kind of interesting there. Not really sure what like the general, I don't know, mass psychosis is around that event taking place, just mass hate events in general. But anyway, this is our last episode of Euphoria ever. The show is officially over, an hour and 33-minute episode. I was very sad, but I thought it was a pretty good finale. It definitely felt like a finale. We've seen a lot of our main characters die off throughout this season, especially in this final episode, and I thought it was an appropriate ending to the show. I thought they nailed the landing here. I definitely think it was better than the ending of The Boys. With that being said, if I had to rate season 3 episode 8 of Euphoria, I would give this episode the rating of a 8.5 out of 10. It gets the 8.5 out of 10. Not the best episode in this entire season. There was better episodes this season, ones that I gave like 10 out of 10 ratings to. But overall, I think it did its job with delivering a satisfying conclusion, an appropriate finale. And I'm sad to see the show go, but all good things must come to an end. Those are my thoughts on this episode finale, on this series finale for Euphoria. Let me know your thoughts on this finale down in the comment section down below. If you don't know what we do here on Dream God ENT, we do film, TV, and pop culture based content. So if you're interested in this type of content, you're in the right place. Hit subscribe, hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.